Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. 1 year ago, I took office amid 2 wars, an economy rocked by a severe recession, a financial system on the verge of collapse, and a government deeply in debt. They don't understand why it seems like bad behavior on Wall Street is rewarded, but hard work on Main Street isn't, or why Washington has been unable or unwilling to solve any of our problems. That I have never been more hopeful about America's future than I am tonight. Despite our hardships, our union is strong. And if there's one thing that has unified Democrats and Republicans, and everybody in between, it's that we all hated the bank bailout. And we've recovered most of the money we spent on the banks. But if these firms can afford to hand out big bonuses again, they can afford a modest fee to pay back the taxpayers who rescued them in their time of need. We cut taxes for 95% of working families. We cut taxes for small businesses. We cut taxes for first-time home buyers. We cut taxes for parents trying to care for their children. We cut taxes for 8 million Americans paying for college. And we haven't raised income taxes by a single dime on a single person. Not a single dime. That is why jobs must be our #1 focus in 2010, and that's why I'm calling for a new jobs bill tonight. So tonight, I'm proposing that we take $30 billion of the money Wall Street banks have repaid and use it to help community banks give small businesses the credit they need to stay afloat. Tomorrow I'll visit Tampa, Florida, where workers will soon break ground on a new high-speed railroad funded by the Recovery Act. There are projects like that all across this country. Last year, we made the largest investment in basic research funding in history. An investment that could lead to the world's cheapest solar cells, or treatment that kills cancer cells but leaves healthy ones untouched. And that means building a new generation of safe, clean nuclear power plants in this country. It means making tough decisions about opening new offshore areas for oil and gas development. And yes, it means passing a comprehensive energy and climate bill. We need to export more of our goods, double our exports over the next 5 years. We're launching a national export initiative, launching a national competition to improve our schools. We only reward success. We only invest in reform. And let's tell another 1 million students that when they graduate, they will be required to pay only 10% of their income on student loans, and all of their debt will be forgiven after 20 years. This year, we will step up refinancing so that homeowners can move into more affordable mortgages. We still need health insurance reform. Our First Lady, Michelle Obama, who this year is creating a national movement to tackle the epidemic of childhood obesity. And according to the Congressional Budget Office, our approach would bring down the deficit by as much as $1 trillion over the next 2 decades. I take my share of the blame for not explaining it more clearly to the American people. I will not walk away, and neither should the people in this chamber. If anyone from either party has a better approach, let me know. Don't walk away from reform. Let us find a way to come together and finish the job for the American people. In the year 2000, America had a budget surplus of over $200 billion. By the time I took office, we had a 1-year deficit of over $1 trillion. we are prepared to freeze government spending for 3 years. Spending related to our national security, Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security will not be affected. And if I have to enforce this discipline by veto, I will. Of course, none of these reforms will even happen. We'll extend our middle-class tax cuts. We will not continue tax cuts for oil companies, for investment fund managers, and for those making over $250,000 a year. I have called for a bipartisan fiscal commission. The Senate should restore the pay-as-you-go law that was a big reason for why we had record surpluses in the 1990s. Let's try common sense, a novel concept. To close that credibility gap, we have to take action on both ends of Pennsylvania Avenue to end the outsized influence of lobbyists. That's why we've excluded lobbyists from policy-making jobs or seats on federal boards and commissions. Last week, the Supreme Court reversed a century of law that I believe will open the floodgates for special interests, including foreign corporations, to spend without limit in our elections. I'm also calling on Congress to continue down the path of earmark reform. Tonight, I'm calling on Congress to publish all earmark requests on a single website before there's a vote. Of course, none of these reforms will even happen. To Democrats, I would remind you that we still have the largest majority in decades, and the people expect us to solve problems, not run for the hills. We're increasing our troops and training Afghan security forces so they can begin to take the lead in July of 2011 and our troops can begin to come home. As a candidate, I promised that I would end this war, and that is what I'm doing as president. We will have all of our combat troops out of Iraq by the end of this August. I've embraced the vision of John F. Kennedy and Ronald Reagan through a strategy that reverses the spread of these weapons and seeks a world without them. The United States and Russia are completing negotiations on the farthest-reaching arms control treaty in nearly 2 decades. And as Iran's leaders continue to ignore their obligations, there should be no doubt they too will face growing consequences. This year, I will work with Congress and our military to finally repeal the law that denies gay Americans the right to serve the country they love because of who they are. And we should continue the work of fixing our broken immigration system to secure our borders and enforce our laws and ensure that everyone who plays by the rules can contribute to our economy and enrich our nations. The only reason we are here is because generations of Americans were unafraid to do what was hard, to do what was needed even when success was uncertain, to do what it took to keep the dream of this nation alive for their children and their grandchildren. Of course, none of these reforms will even happen. Thank you. God bless you. And God bless the United States of America.